Have you, yes you, the viewer, ever wanted to be a bald schizophrenic man with superpowers?
Superpowers!
An Asian lady with telekinesis?
朋友是一个坚韧不拔的记。
Or an Indian man with a shotgun?
Do not eat in the gut! No!
If you said yes to any one of those things, you're in luck, because this is Prey MoonCrash.
Good morning, Morgan. Today is Monday, March 15th, 2032.
I know none of that makes sense now, so first we have to backtrack a little. And just to clarify, since there are so many other movies and games called Prey, we are not talking about Prey 2024, Prey 2022, Prey 2021, Prey 2019, Prey 2016, Prey 2007, Prey 2006, and of course Prey 1977. We are going to be talking about Prey 2017 by Arcane Studios. Prey follows Morgan Yu, who lives in a perfectly normal life. Just kidding, he's in a space station called Talos 1 infested with aliens called Typhons. Some Typhons are big and scary, some Typhons like stealing your gun, and most commonly, the Typhons like playing prop hunt.
Oh my god, security!
But Morgan's not important because we're here to talk about the DLC for the game, MoonCrash. MoonCrash starts out with you playing as a Chasma hacker named Peter on board a spy satellite orbiting the Pythias moon base, also overrun by Typhons. The company Transstar owns both Talos 1 and Pythias moon base. Transstar is run by the Yu family, with Riley Yu being the director of the moon base and a character you later play in the game. Chasma is the rival evil-ass corporation who doesn't offer their employees a 401k or dental, so they're really the bad guy. Chasma retrieves a robot operator from the moon base with 5 different people's memories uploaded to the operator. As Peter, you are tasked with running the simulation as the 5 people to find out what really happened on Pythias, and to do a bunch of Chasma tasks. Prey MoonCrash is a procedurally generated roguelike where it's the same moon base, but at the same time the map changes so much. The map is split into 4 different sections, consisting of Moonworks, where the company mines the moon rocks, Pythias Labs, where they experiment on Typhons, Crew Annex, where the crew lives, and the Crater, the central hub for the other 3 locations. Each simulation can have certain sections covered in radiation, so you need to find radiation medicine or find a way to destroy the radioactive material. A section could also be on fire, which you can get the glue gun to put out the fire or just run around it. A section could also be out of power, which requires you to get a character to switch out power modules or have a strong character force open all the doors. And finally, a location could be out of oxygen, where you will need to find an oxygen tank to refill your suit timer. Or, of course, you could just do what I did and run past all of those problems and leave it for somebody else in a different run. Which also brings us to how the simulation runs. Once you die or escape as one of the characters, the next character in the run will have to deal with the decisions you made previously, which can be really good or really bad. Say in one run you use the escape pod to escape, now the next guy can't use that escape pod and will have to find somewhere else to go. So you should probably take your time and kill all the enemies in your first run and get it set up for the other characters' runs, right? As the game goes on, the corruption timer will slowly fill up, and when it fills up all the way, the corruption level will increase, and so will the enemies that spawn in, which in some runs will make it almost impossible to escape because the enemies will bend you over and rail you in the ass. Oh, and also where the corruption level reaches 6, the simulation will crash because the moon base has really shitty Wi-Fi. So you are constantly on a time constraint to get everything as quickly as possible. Throughout the runs, you can earn sim points upon completing tasks or escaping. You can spend these sim points to spawn your character in with an assortment of items for the next run, like neuromods that you can stick into your eyes and upgrade your character's special abilities, but we will talk about that in a little bit. Just when you start making progress, the game will hit you with a fucking update patch notes log, and now tell you that the enemies are even scarier and you are more The game offers a bunch of challenges you need to overcome, but it also provides you with multiple ways you can solve them. Say a door is locked, broken, or needs a password. If you aren't playing a certain character, this could be impossible on that run. But there will always be another way to accomplish the task. But now we can finally talk about the 5 characters. The first one you start off with is Andreas, the volunteer. Andreas has less health than normal, but makes up with his Phi abilities. He's useless in the sense of unlocking doors or hacking for other people, since he doesn't have any of those abilities, but instead he's the main DPS dealer, and the only one that can hurt the moon shark, which will be super annoying later in the game if you don't kill it now. Joan the engineer, which will most likely be the next character you unlock, has the ability to spawn in turrets, and you can also use spare parts to repair broken doors. The third character is VJ, the security officer. You can pick up heavy stuff and spawn in security drones, but I never found any of that really useful. but at least he has a bunch of health. That's really the only upside to him. Character number 4 is Riley Yu. Her main gimmick is that she can turn herself into an object, which can be helpful to hide from other Typhons or to squeeze yourself through tight spaces and make it to new locations. The fifth and final character is the Custodian, but as you do VJ's story, you later find out that she is actually a Chasma spy. She's honestly my favorite character because she's a stealth speed build, so she can run and jump super high and hide from all the Typhons. And on top of all that, she can hack doors and computers, which makes it also incredibly useful. While you complete tasks, Peter will be taken out of the simulation, and you will have to do some stupid ass random task on the satellite, like get yelled at by an Indian woman or turn the gravity back on. But besides that, now we can actually start talking about each character's stories. A lot of these stories overlap, so I'm going to try to order them in a way that mostly makes sense. So first, we're going to be talking about Joan the Engineer, which is probably the first story you will do and probably the most boring one. The cutscene starts with Joan wrenching a random ass dude to death, because fuck this guy. Afterwards, you find out that your friend Brian was killed in an accident, and Ken, the guy you just killed, turned Brian's dead body over to the lab to be experimented on. So you must go find Brian's dead body, which is now a phantom, and you have to kill him again. After doing so, you have to finish his sculpture, which I don't know why you need to finish his dumbass. The whole base is under attack by aliens, and your main goal is to finish this guy's sculpture. That made no sense to me. But after finishing the sculpture, use a neuromod to learn how to fly the space shuttle, and then leave the moon base on it. Honestly, Joan's story just kind of sucks and doesn't make too much sense compared to everyone else's, which totally ties into the story. But luckily, we have the next story, which is The Volunteer. It starts with the volunteer waking up in his cell to a Typhon talking to him with his son's voice.
Me, Alexei. We can be together again. But you have to do what I say. It's very important. Okay, Papa? There's something you have to do for me. For us. So we can be together. It's what you want. You have to find my toy. You missed my birthday. Missed so many. I think about you and my toy all the time. Remember, it's what you want. Find my toy.
The voice tells Andres to go find his son's favorite toy and bring it back home with him in an escape pod. While looking for the son's toy, none of the Typhons will attack you, and if you try to hurt them, your son will tell you to stop hurting his friends. So this already seems kind of sketchy. And if you keep hurting the Typhons, your head will just explode into red smoothie. This leaves a big problem because around the moon base are Typhon gates, which stop you from entering a new area unless all the Typhons around you are killed. But since you can't kill them, the only way you can get past the gates are if you bring a bunch of EMP grenades. Upon getting to the escape pod with your son's toy, your son will tell you how you did such a good job, and it's revealed that the toy was actually a mimic, and you just sent a mimic to Earth to go destroy the whole world. And then Andres' head fucking explodes. Next, we have Riley's story, which is super underwhelming considering she's the last story that I did, and also the fact that she's the director of the whole moon base. Her story is grabbing some control modules, plugging them in, and using a giant Tesla tower to zap some Typhons like fucking mosquitoes. It's extremely underwhelming, but now we can move on to VJ. He wakes up to a call from the head of security saying that there's a Chasma spy killing your team and trying to escape with secrets. The spy poisons you and says that you need to make a choice between getting the antidote or stopping her from escaping. But you're given so much time that you can easily just do both. Inside the control tower, you're given the choice to either let her live or kill her by crashing her escape pod into the moon. Now, this is where it's completely up to the player. The choice doesn't matter at all in the long run, but in my opinion, it questions who you're really playing as. VJ, the character you are playing as, would totally kill her, as it's his job to do so, and she's fucking trying to hit you with galaxy gas. But at the same time, you're also playing as Peter running the simulations, who is also a Chasma worker and would most likely spare his colleague. So this really makes you think of what character you're really playing as in the game. But enough yapping, because I let that bitch crash. After either killing her or letting her live, you can now unlock her as the final character. What was once the Custodian is now Claire the Spy. Her story starts off with her killing VJ's security team before receiving a call from the Chasma agency. She's tasked with cleaning up all the evidence and listening devices she left over the moon base, and hiding her tracks of ever being there in the first place. After destroying all the evidence, you call Chasma, and of course you are not important enough to save, so they tell you it's a skill issue and then block your number. That technically ends her story, but according to VJ's story, Claire would get into an escape pod and would either be killed or spared by him. After completing each story for everyone, Peter's last task is to escape with everyone in a single simulation run without anyone dying. In order to actually pull this off, you're really going to need to plan this right. So here's how I ended up doing it. Each character has their own respective escape method. You technically don't need to escape that way, but it's more fun if you do so. Going over the escape methods, the volunteer needs to escape from the mimic portal in the basement of Pythes Labs, but the portal can only be turned on by Claire hacking the computer and Joan fixing the side of the portal, so you have to do that at least third in the escape list. Next, we have Riley Yu with the brain emulation ending. This one is pretty straightforward. All you need to do is go to Riley's office at the top of Pythes Labs, activate a terminal, and sit down in a chair and get your brain copied to an operator to be shot into space. Oh, and I forgot to mention, during Claire's story, she makes a pit stop at Riley's office to tamper with the operator, but then Riley also does a virus scan of the operator, so I'm not really sure who ended up getting what they wanted, so Riley's brain may or may not be turned to Code Red Mountain Dew after the transfer. Escaping as Joan is also super easy. All you need to do is go fix the portal for the volunteer, and then get on the shuttle and then leave. Claire's run is also pretty easy. All you need to do is go to the Mimic portal, unlock the computer, go to another terminal, and then find where the last escape pod is, and then make your way there and then launch it. But there is a chance that the escape pod could be missing the navigation chip, so you either have to bring one from home or find the malfunctioning escape pod chip somewhere on the map. The volunteer's escape run is literally just making it to the Mimic portal and leaving. And lastly, in my opinion, the most annoying one is VJ being shot into space out of a giant gun. You have to make it to the top of Moonworks, which is already a challenge in of itself, and then activate the mass driver. Make it to the storage container in time, and then stow away inside of it, then get shot into space, and then also starve to death in space. So don't do what I did and actually read what the objective tells you to do and bring a bunch of food or water and radiation medicine so you don't fucking die in orbit. This was the hardest thing for me, even though I've been saving up food and water throughout all of the runs for my previous characters. For some reason, I could not find a single piece of radiation medicine to give to VJ. But after spending so much time scouring all of Moonworks, I was able to find radiation medicine in the last spot I checked, and then shot an Indie Man inside a storage unit through a space gun into Earth's orbit. And that is everyone being saved, even though Riley's brain may or may not be red slushy after the brain transfer. After doing all of this and the miscellaneous tasks, Peter can now finally see his family again.
Unfortunately, budgets are tight and we just can't afford to pick you up. We're going to honor the contract, though, and send your completion bonus to your family. Thank you again, Peter.
And if you couldn't see it coming from a mile away, Peter's going to be killed. Quickly before the oxygen runs out, you can now set a collision course for the surface of the moon. After saving everyone else's life and doing their endings, it's finally time for Peter's ending. MoonCrash.
Say that again?
Peter somehow gets an oxygen suit on, even though he was going to die of lack of oxygen like 5 seconds ago, and is able to somehow survive crashing a fucking satellite against the moon. He sees a random space shuttle just parked on the surface of the moon, which I don't know why it would be there in the first place, but he somehow gets aboard it and is able to pilot back to safety to see his family again. And now everyone on Earth is dead. Again. Because there's another mimic. This has been Prey MoonCrash. If you got this far, I'd really appreciate if you would subscribe and leave a comment on what you guys thought about the video. I'm still trying new video ideas, so if you like it, leave a comment and tell me so. But if you dislike it, also leave a comment and let me know why. But anyways, thank you guys for watching the video till the end. I hope to see you guys in the next slightly awful video.